Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for today's episode. It's another good one, and it's from one of you guys out there, a subscriber who wanted to know specifically how I store my tackle. What's the most efficient way to store tackle so that regardless of whether you're fishing from a boat, from shore, somebody else's boat, it's an efficient way to swap tackle in and out. And I'm not going to sit here and say that it's the best way for everybody, but I'm going to share with you guys how I go about storing my tackle. It's a pretty relevant question at this point for me because I'm starting to get stuff ready for my tournament season, which means I'm going through boxes, I'm cleaning baits, cleaning rust off the baits, swapping hooks, swapping split rings, moving some tackle from what I consider my tournament boxes to the bench, moving new baits into my tournament boxes. It's just kind of a process that I do during the winter. Something that keeps me in tune with my baits, keeps me thinking about fishing, gives me ideas as to certain baits I may want to apply to new lakes when I go there, or lakes I've been to in the past, baits that maybe I didn't have last time that I'll have this time. So it's one of those things where it's always really nice to go through your tackle to A, remember what you have, and B, remember where it is. I can't tell you, I mean, every year I go through this stuff, and it's like I find stuff that I forgot I had. You know, it's stuff maybe I've ordered a lot more of, and I wish I knew I had it. It's just one of those things that I think you've all been there where, you know, you thought you had some baits or thought you had some hooks or weights, and you can't find them. And then, you know, after you needed them, you come across them, whether they're in your tackle bag, a different box, somewhere in your boat, wherever. It just seems like it happens. And I'm trying to limit that from happening. That's kind of why I've organized everything the way I have. And it just seems to work for me. So I'm just I'm going to go over what I do so that you guys can understand where I'm coming from and how it works for me. So I've gotten to be a really big fan of, you know, like plain old waterproof cases, but just the hard cases that allow me to organize my tackles. So what I do is I'll take all my hard baits that I want to use, and I'll label a box. So like in this case, this is a topwater box. So these are all topwaters that I have in my boat. Like this should be everything that I need when it comes to topwater fishing. I've got poppers, walking baits, prop baits, you name it. These are like my go-to game day topwaters. And I label the box, as you can see, topwaters. And I do that for all my hard baits. I've got jerkbait box, a topwater box, shallow running cranks, mid-range cranks, deep cranks, lipless. I mean, pretty much all across the gamut. I do not organize based on brand of bait. You know, I get a lot of questions. Okay, do you have a box specifically for Berkley stunted jerkbaits, or, you know, for whatever bait it is? And I don't do that for a couple of reasons. One, for the most part, no matter what type of bait it is, I've got several different versions of the bait that I like. So if we're talking lipless baits, I love the Berkley War Pig. I like the old XRK one knockers, the Excalibur baits. There's some Yozuri ones I like. So I've got some various ones that I like to have with me. And when it comes to tournament fishing, I may primarily use a War Pig. But if I get there and, you know, one of my roommates says, you might want to try this one, I'm catching them on this, then I may have that with me. So if I limited myself to one bait, I just don't feel like I'm giving myself the best opportunity to succeed on the water. So that's how it is. With my hard baits, I've got a box specifically for everything, for each type. The other reason I do that is so that when I go to a body of water that I know is going to be a good jerkbait lake, I grab my jerkbait box and I put it in my boat. And chances are, if I'm fishing jerkbaits, probably not going to be fishing frogs. So I can take the whole frog box, move it out of the boat, and it just makes the transition from one lake to another really easy. If I were just, you know, only fishing around my house here in Wisconsin, I would want, you know, a box for everything, and it would never leave my boat. But because of the situation I'm in with traveling all over the country, it's not uncommon for me to take everything in my boat and swap it out except for like 2 or 3 boxes. It's just how it is. You know, you may go to Florida, which is power fishing grass, and then you may end up going to Smith Lake, which is like super cold, pre-spawn, clear water, and you just don't need the same stuff. So that's my hard baits. Plastics is one of those things where I feel like everyone's got different ways to do it, and I've got a couple of ways. One, if it's a bait that specifically has its own tackle, terminal tackle, like hooks, like tubes, I'll make a box up just for tubes. So in this box, I've got tubes that I really like to use, and I've got all the different tube heads that I'll need to use those tubes. So everything is in one place. I open up one box, I can get the head, I can get the tube, we're good to go. If you're talking about like pitching baits or stick baits, like I've got in my boat, I've got a Ziploc bag of Berkeley Generals. Those are the only stick baits I'm gonna be using. Those are my favorites. I'll have probably 15 different colors and sizes of the General in that bag. They're all really easy to get. And the reason I don't have terminal tackle with them is because there's so many different ways to rig a General. Like, I mean, you guys out there who are Senko fans know what I'm talking about. You can flip it, you can Carolina rig it. There's so many things. I would need 3 boxes to figure that out. So I keep those baits to themselves. Same thing with my pitching baits. You know, I really like the Berkeley Pit Boss, the Creature Hog. Those are kind of my 2 main pitching baits. So I've got a Ziploc bag just with those, but because they're used for everything, I don't put the terminal tackle with them. So what do I do then for my terminal tackle? Well, I've got a separate box that's all terminal tackle. So this is labeled as my hooks and weights box. It's got all my weights, all my hooks, corkscrews, I mean, whatever you might need, pegging type stuff, blades, hook sharpeners, I mean, beads, every terminal item that I need is in this. This box never leaves my boat. It is always with me, because if I have this, I'll be able to make it through the day, because I know I've got a little bit of everything in here. So this then paired up with those bags of plastics get me through all that. I then you know, when it comes to like other baits, like my jigs and my chatter baits, that type of thing, I've got separate boxes again for them. I really like the waterproof Plano boxes. So this is my Dirty Jig swim jig box, and I keep them all in the original card, which is why I like the waterproof box. And you can see, you know, I can easily get the color and see the size of the bait with no issue. I like to leave them on the card for that reason. Works really well. The waterproof case keeps the cardboard from getting wet and getting damp. So I've got, you know, a chatterbait box. I've got, again, separate boxes for each style of bait. Going back to terminal tackle, I do have, so I've kind of got like a finesse box as well. I've got a shaky head box. So this has all the hooks that I'd need for a shaky head. We're going to take a timeout. Yeah, buddy. Okay, I'll be up in 1 second. I'll go meet you up there. You go up there, I'll be right up, okay? Okay. So as I was saying, the shaky head box has all the tackle and some of the baits that I like for the shaky heads. Everything that I need is in here ready to go. The only other terminal boxes I have are some of these little Gamakatsu boxes that I like. So I've got one, this is just guppy heads. Dirty Jig Mat 7 guppy heads, and I like them because they've got this foam material in here, and I can easily separate the baits, keep everything in here really well. It seems to work just fine for me. I've got one, these are all different treble hooks for spare replacements, and then these are more Dirty Jig swim bait heads that, you know, I keep in my boat. Most of the time that's all in my boat as well, because those are terminal tackle items that I know I'm going to need at some point, so those don't leave much. The only other thing I'll do with respect to tackle that I have in my boat, and this is something I learned from back when I was shore fishing and I was a co-angler. This is like back in the high school and college days, where I had a tackle bag with me and I was going to a lake that, you know, I wanted to have a little bit of everything for. But because I had a tackle bag, I only had room for maybe 4 boxes, right? So I started making boxes specifically for lakes. So in this case, this box says Okeechobee. I know that if I've got this box in my boat, that it's going to have my heavy flipping stuff. So I've got some big jigs, some Texas rig stuff, heavy weights, all the hooks, all the pegging systems that I need, and a handful of my favorite baits for Okeechobee. And this works great for me because I know if I've got this box, I've got it really ready to go and ready to roll when I get there. And I do that for a lot of lakes. So I've probably got, I'm gonna say 7 or 8 boxes specifically to a lake. Some of those are local lakes here, some of those are lakes in Florida or wherever. The thing I like about that is it just means, really, if I go to Okeechobee, this one box is all I need. I mean, I realize it may not have absolutely everything I need, but it will be enough to get me through the day. It's the mainstay stuff, and it works really well. So if you guys are a co-angler or, you know, fishing from the bank and you can't have tons of stuff, it's nice to have a box made up specifically for certain lakes, because then you know you've got everything you need in that box. And then it's just a matter of swapping out. I don't know if you can see that over there, but so I've got, like, these are all shelves full of different boxes. I've got some more on my boat, and I just easily swap that stuff in, swap it out, depending on what lake I'm going to and what season it is. I mean, I've got some boxes that are made not just for lake, but for type of bass. So I've got like a smallmouth bait box, I've got a spotted bass bait box, and I've got a largemouth one. And again, that's a good way to go if you're limited to how much tackle you can bring, because at that point, you know you've got your favorite smallmouth bass stuff or your favorite spotted bass stuff. It's just seems to work really well for me. You know, everyone's got their own way of organizing tackle. I personally like to have everything in the hard cases for the most part, because it's an easy swap in, swap out, depending on what lake I'm going to. So I hope this was helpful, guys. It's a process that I feel like over the years, all the other anglers I talk to on tour are somewhat different. Some guys are extremely disorganized and everything is in like a cardboard box because they just made 25 orders from Tackle Warehouse. Other guys are a lot more organized and have everything in their own specific spots. I'm definitely leaning more towards that side. I like to have things organized. I like to know where everything's at, because when I'm in the boat, if I can't find the bait I want, that's costing me casts. And the more casts that I lose out on, the more shots I lose out on catching an extra fish throughout the day. So I try to be as efficient as I can be in the boat, which means I need to know where everything's at. So I hope this was helpful, guys. If it was, hit that like button, throw a comment in the section. Let me know, do you like this method? Do you guys have a different method? Are there tackle systems and tackle boxes that you guys utilize that you find to be extremely valuable in terms of organization? I'd love to know what you guys are using. Throw it in the comment section and stay tuned for tomorrow's video.